What's up, everybody? Welcome to Echoes in the Dark, episode 3. I'm your host, Bloodborne. Got a couple things we're going to talk about tonight after we start some music again. There we go, that's better. Okay, so first and foremost, what I want to touch on are two topics today. Two topics, one of them being the Hunter class, and that's going to cover things like skills, damage, survivability, traits. We're going to cover all that. And really what I mean by that is I want to see where you guys are with that. I want to see some perspective. I want to see what your thoughts are, where your grief is with the class. Are you happy with the class? Because, hey, you know what? I don't play it as much as I used to, so my guess is as good as yours. I know there's a lot of people out there that played the class very heavily and then stopped because they were upset about it. I want to hear that stuff. The other piece is that I would like to talk about the community as a whole. Now that is forums, that is YouTube, that is podcasts, that is Twitch, that is blogging, the whole 9 yards. So those are the two big things I want to talk about today. Now, I don't have anybody that's like queued up to talk tonight. If there is anybody that would like to talk, let me know in chat, and I will get you into Discord, and we can talk about it. If you actually... I'm trying to think about what I want to do with the Hunter, but I was kind of hoping to wait a little bit. Nice post on the Blood Her Twitter. So I gotta say, there was a Twitter account added that is all about my hair. It's quite flattering and quite hilarious. Anyway. Yes, Zingor. All 9 yards, not even a first down. You are correct. And yes, you guys get to see the Shing Shing shirt. All right, Andang. Well, how about we do this? If you're down to, we can do community first, and we'll save the Hunter till later. Let's see. Give me just a minute. I would imagine that you have Discord, and let me get you some info. All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna send you a DM on Twitter that has the link on it. Just a second here. And then, like I said, we're going to talk about the community aspects tonight. We're going to talk about the Hunter class tonight. And hopefully we can have some fun. So again, this is the third episode of Echoes in the Dark, where we talk about all things LOTRO. Really just to get a different perspective about things. We want to get people in here that don't normally have a voice. Some people that come in that don't visit the forums, maybe don't listen to... Yes, Bacon, we are talking about the Hunter tonight, that runt class you love to call it. Really just because mine is a runt. Alright, let me get this over to Andang real quick, and then... let's see next. I think that's right. That's copied. There you go, Andang. Check your DMs, and then come on in, and I will pull you down to this channel. Alright. So once we get Andang in here, we'll fire up some stuff. So you'll notice I made some changes as well. Once this gets going, you'll actually be able to see on this side who is actually talking that is not me. And on this side, you actually have the Twitch chat. So we made some adjustments. All right, so he is in chat now. Let me go ahead and bring him down here. Whoop. There we go. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
There we go. Now we got everything all muted. Doing good. How are you, Blood?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been quite some time, actually, for some reason. I don't know why exactly. I guess we've both been busy.
Absolutely. I'm going to do one thing. I don't have this channel set correct. I'm going to move this up one channel so it shows up on stream.
Okay.
All right, that should show up. Now it does. Good. All right. So, when I was thinking about doing this show today, I was really thinking about all the different avenues that we have as a community to communicate and how many different ways a message could be delivered and how many different interpretations of a message there are out there. And so one of the things that got me really thinking about it is when I did the LOTRO Player News with you guys, like over a year ago. And then, then I started doing more and more with Twitch, and then I started diving more into the YouTube content and things like that, and really just trying to branch out to as many people as I could. And what I'd like to hear from you is, what has your experience been? Because I know you've been doing a lot of YouTube content over the years, and I know that you've been doing LOTRO Players for a long time. And what is your experience been with reaching the community just as a whole? And then if you want to dive into anything specific, you're more than welcome to.
I think it's been really good just because of how the LOTRO community seems to be so receptive to everybody and just how friendly they are. I'm always amazed that I don't get more angry comments on YouTube, and every time I say that, I'm afraid that I will, but it doesn't happen so far. But, there's a few people here and there, but nothing like what I hear from other channels that are on YouTube where there's just like constant, hateful comments. And so that's one major strength about the LOTRO community, I think, is just how nice they are and how friendly they are and how welcoming they are to new people creating content.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing that I was really kind of taken aback by when I actually posted a few videos on YouTube, and you actually hopped in there, and it's like, man, it's so good to see somebody else making more LOTRO content. And then I had even more people come in and say like, man, thanks for making content. It's hard to find, outside of like Andang, it's hard to find people that are doing content. And so that made me feel really good about what I was doing and making me want to do it more.
Yeah, YouTube's gone in some really, as far as the LOTRO community, has gone in some really weird phases where at times it's just really popular and there's all these new LOTRO YouTubers, and then it'll kind of phase out and go into the next phase, which seems like that's kind of how the community is in general. Whenever there's that big update that comes around, everyone gets back into content creation, and then once that update kind of goes away, people start to flutter away and don't do as much content creation anymore. Real quick, I do want to mention that Kazgaval actually recently got back into YouTube, which makes me so excited. He and I started our channels about the same time and kind of grew from there with each other, and it's just great to see him back in the game on YouTube creating more LOTRO content.
Speaking of him, I actually watched a couple of his things just last night, and I was kind of in that late night lull where you're not quite ready for bed yet, but I don't really want to do anything. So I was kind of browsing some LOTRO broadcasts and videos, and I came across him. I was like, wow, he's got a lot of subscribers. Like, let me look at this. And sure enough, that's who it was. And it was actually really great to see him back as well. So yeah, it's very interesting that, like you said, when we have a big update come out, that there's up-to-date information, and there's new stuff, and people are finally writing good articles, and like and all the doom and gloom kind of seems to go away for a little bit, and there's that the light in the darkness, and then it does fade a little bit. And I agree, it does kind of go in those swells, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, recently with the news that they're planning to have LOTRO go beyond 2018, I mean, that is fantastic, and to me was one of the biggest things that goes against the doom and gloom type stuff, and was so glad that they're finally openly talking about how there's nothing special about their license agreement. Apparently, it's just like any other license agreement. And it's just that for some reason it was made public, whereas most are kept in private. So,
Right. It's just business.
mm-hmm.
And so the one thing that I've kind of touched on in some of my recent videos and some of my recent broadcasts has been really within our community is the lack of up-to-date content, or lack of, because every major update, something big changes. Whether it be something with a class, or we found a new major bug that kind of has to make a class rework itself or something like that. And you're like, well, I'm going to research that a little bit, and then you find like update 12 posts and builds and things like that, and it's just like, this is not helpful.
Or even worse, if you find update 11 posts before the class changes, and it's just like,
right.
No, this is no help at all.
That's a different game. So yeah, that's what do you think in your experience as a content creator and as a podcaster? Like, what do you think that we could do as a community to help bring in the content as far as up-to-date content? Like, what can we do as people that we have our name and our face out there for the community? What can we do to help promote that even?
Well, I think first of all, if somebody knows something about the game that they can't find anywhere else, hopefully they'll actually post that, because we really do need, especially in certain parts of the game, people to be posting that type of information. After that, it's up to the rest of us to be, sharing that information and getting it out to as many people as possible. And I don't mean just like content creators. I mean everyone in the community. If you have any type of social media account, or just even sharing stuff in game to other people, can be really helpful.
That's one of the things I've found most useful of even broadcasting live, is because you get people, they may poke holes in your build, or, how you're doing a particular quest line, or how your trait is, or, your rotation. And I find it very helpful, even if I'm like, even frustrated. It's like, how did I not know that? It's incredibly helpful, and that's part of the reason why I do what I do, is to, just not only give exposure to the game itself, is to really kind of push the subject of up-to-date information.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing I've kind of found a little frustrating from the community side of things is not really knowing what is all out there. I know that a handful of content creators on YouTube, such as yourself, and then I know obviously all the guys that are streaming on Twitch. I've got a hand in that a little bit more than the YouTube side of things, and then just like one or two podcasts. And I know there's more groups out there. There's more people that are writing, and there's seems to be, and maybe this is something for Cordovan, is to kind of rein all that into a centralized location that we can actually get that information out to everybody so they can find it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest problems with the way content creation works, is that while there is the Twitch, LOTRO stream where all the Twitch people get promoted, outside of that, stuff is being promoted a lot more than it used to be, which is fantastic. But there's still not really a good go-to place to find like all the current LOTRO podcasts and stuff like that. There used to be on the forums, but I don't think it's really been updated for a long time.
Well, that's definitely something just going forward from today that I kind of wanted to do a renewed commitment to the rest of the community. Obviously, I've been very engrossed in the Twitch side of things. That's just kind of what my area was. That was what I just kind of gravitated towards the live content. But I feel like I have an opportunity doing what I do almost every night to really promote you guys and help you guys out. And because I get people in my chat every night that say, wow, this game is still going, And it's like, so obviously, if they don't know,
what's even more mind-blowing than that to me is that there's some people that have never seen or heard about LOTRO before that somehow find my streams and find, your streams and other people's on Twitch and other places. And I'm always amazed that there's these new players that, new people who have never heard of LOTRO before.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, through the live streams, I know that we've been able to bring new players in because they're quite literally in our chat saying, okay, I'm sold. I'm going to go download it right now. And what server are you guys on? Okay, I'll be on Arkansas in a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's cool because we know that that's having an impact then. And I'm sure you guys see that as well on your end, just through the post comments and stuff like that. But there's something that's always been compelling to me about the live content and just seeing, this person's here talking to me right now. What can we do and how can we impact this person right now? But like I said, I truly want to try to bridge the gap between all of the different types of content creation that we have that are really pushing this game, because I think we have a unique opportunity as a group, as a community, to do more.
Yeah.
And I even think, like, had I known, like, the interview with Daddy was fantastic.
Man, absolutely.
Had I known about that,
site,
oh man, I would have pushed that like crazy.
The fact that his site only came around in March and already he has a fantastic interview like that, I think says more about the way Turbine is currently. Because he just asked Turbine, hey, can I interview you guys? And they're like, yeah. They didn't even look to see how new or old of a site he was. They just, went ahead and did it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I know you guys have had different members on there before, and like I've had a couple people on, which, by the way, next week on Echoes in the Dark, I will have currently Quartermaster U will be joining us next week, so we might have some fun stuff to talk about, store-related stuff, hopefully, and so hopefully you guys can join us next week, especially with Quartermaster U potentially joining us next week.
Well, and also, maybe in this week, maybe in next week, there is supposed to be the next producer's letter coming out as well, which I do want to mention, because that's going to have a lot of Update 19 information, I'm guessing, since that's the next update.
Yeah, it's kind of going to be that vague, generalized, here's the concept, but yes, I'm excited. I am very excited to
Well, I think
dive into
since
that.
that is going to be later this year, that it will be a bit more fleshed out than, say, like, they're vague, we might be working on an expansion kind of a thing, so.
That brings up an interesting point with, potential expansion, where we're going, and things like that. I think where we are right now, we have all these different types of community outlets, and we know that there is, as they put it, something big that they want to do. We have a very unique opportunity right now to prepare for it and partner up and cross promote and really make the most out of this thing.
Yeah, and we need to be sure to be doing a lot of things for this expansion if we want to see more expansions and LOTRO be actually getting back into having these big investments and continuing to be growing. We need to be in there doing beta tests, promoting the expansion, doing everything we can to help Turbine to make it be as good of an expansion as possible, so that it can be a great expansion and that LOTRO can, continue to come back and be growing as it has been recently, it seems.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been talking about in the live streams is, with the last several batches of content updates, even, obviously things have bugs. What game does not have bugs? I mean, it doesn't irritate me like it does some people, but because I understand how things work, I guess. But, having the new instances and having the new raid, which I find fantastic, having the recent story, which was fantastic, it really kind of makes me feel like I felt heading into Mines of Moria,
Yeah.
because I'm feeling that kind of engagement level that I had towards the end of Shadows of Angmar.
I mean, this last update had, I don't remember if it was this last update or the one, I guess it was this last update, had raids and stuff like that. Like, that is crazy that we had a raid this year and, all the stuff that goes along with that. Plus, what is, in my opinion, the best part of the story we've ever had, and took Volume 4 to be my favorite volume now because of what happened in it. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what they're doing on the story side of things.
Yeah, and I know that's been a lot of positive feedback for Maid of Lions, especially around this last one. And to hear him even say his thing, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm like, all right, man, you got me hooked. Let's go. Let's do this. I want to see it.
Well, and even just looking at the way they handled Pelennor Fields, where it wasn't an epic battle, it was just these great instances, and they were able to, build this landscape path as well, to where there was this just nice combination that had really interesting gameplay and wasn't kind of on the more boring side of the epic battles.
Right, and this is something I've talked about. This is kind of divert from the community side of things, and we'll kind of come back to that in a minute. But the one thing that I've always thought about LOTRO is, even if they try something and it fails, so like in my opinion, like big battles, they were cool for like 5 minutes. I mean, to experience a story that way was okay. But like having to do that over and over for like top end gear at that point, I personally did not like. And it was really hard at some points to get people to do that because they just didn't want to. The one thing I will say about them is that they're not afraid to try. At least they try different systems. They don't, as much as, I would just be happy with the traditional MMO mold, like, okay, you've got your quests, you've got a storyline, you've got character development, you've got instances, crafting, and, some RP stuff. Just that kind of traditional mold. And then, they've broken out of that a couple times, and it really hasn't worked out super well with a lot of them. But they've at least tried to push the envelope and try different things. And I think what they're learning now is that maybe that's not the best route to go, is to stick with what works, but at least they did try.
Well, and Turbine's always been willing to try new things, and sometimes it works better than others. And it's just, interesting how they keep trying, it seems. And Helm's Deep is just where a lot of things all kind of came together and just ended up not working around the same time. And it's kind of sad that was like the last note as far as an expansion we left off on, which is why I'm so excited about the potential of this next one, is because if they can make it be a decent expansion, at least we'll not be leaving, our palates on this just downward note. Even though it's still like 3 years after, it feels like Helm's Deep kind of still has a sour taste in a lot of players' mouths.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, if I look back at that time and think about the players that I had, that I was playing with, and my kinship and whatnot, and the amount of those people that do not play at this time, it does leave a sour taste in my mouth, because it's like, if you just wouldn't have done this, or if you just wouldn't have done this, we would have retained a lot more players, and we would have hit this resurgence where more people are coming back, and we'd be in a really good spot. Not to say that we're in a bad spot now. I mean, I think with the, I always log on and I see stuff happening, which is kind of, I think, the measure of how successful or healthy something is. If you can log into the game and there's content being run, then things are okay.
I mean, even just looking at how many more people seem to be creating content recently is kind of amazing. I mean, it feels like that as far as content creators go and the number that there are, it feels like that LOTRO is kind of at one of their high points right now as far as just how many people are doing that type of stuff.
Absolutely. And there's a couple things in chat I see rolling by here, and I wanted to touch on it. It's a little bit further up in the Lies0034. You used to be able to look up other people's characters, and that was helpful figuring out good builds. Yeah, when we had my.lotro.com, that was a great tool, and right now it would rely heavily on somebody just flat out posting a build on the forums, and you'd be lucky enough to find it in a thread. So that has been a criticism of mine for a long time, is actually the offline integration, if you will, of tools to make the online experience better. And I don't have any anticipation that we'll see any offline stuff ever again. It's just, I just don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think it's realistic to expect it will. But that was a very nice piece, because you could actually go look at that and then talk to that person and ask them about it. But that's a thing of the past, just like a few things. But with the way things are going, I think that it might be fair to say the best is yet to come still.
I am optimistic about the rest of the future for LOTRO, which is something that before Daddy's interview, I was a little bit optimistic, but nowhere near where I am now. And it's not even so much what Turbine was talking about, it's just the fact that they were communicating so much with the community all of a sudden, especially on the license agreement. We learned more about the license agreement in that interview than I think we have the entire time of the discussion about it from Turbine's side anyway. And so that was just great, having all that information.
Yeah, and that's something that I appreciate a lot, is the transparency. And there's just little tidbits that players know from things that they've experienced. Like, I think it might have even been in a conversation I had with you at one point about the armor in Rise of Isengard, about the Tower of Orthanc armor being outsourced.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, just that kind of information, like the transparency there of knowing something like that. Does it mean something to a lot of people? Probably not. But there are people that want to know all these like juicy little tidbits about the game, like, and I think again that's another area that us as content creators can really thrive with, that type of information, or even push discussion at least.
Yeah, definitely.
So, kind of bringing it back to the community side of things, what is something that you would like to see, maybe like a short-term goal for, maybe even something just as simple as the LOTRO Players podcast and the LOTRO Players community, and then maybe a long-term goal for just the overall LOTRO community? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but
that's a very loaded question. Yeah. One of my short-term goals for my channel is to reach 1 million views, which getting kind of close to that, and hoping it can be, LOTRO related things that help get it there. And as far as LOTRO players, we are just constantly trying to get, more people involved with that. And just even today, I got an email from somebody who does poetry and was submitting a poetry sample to see if they could join the site. And it's just crazy how many people just volunteer their time and just submit stuff, and it's just fantastic. And so as far as goals moving forward for LOTRO players, I hope that we can just continue to help the community grow, especially with this expansion coming up. It's going to be a major thing that we need to promote. If Turbine's potentially investing a lot more money, let's try to make it be as good as possible and try to help it grow. And if it does grow, then it'll help all of us grow and help the entire community grow. So I think that that's kind of my main focus right now is on that. But yeah, what about you, Blood? What's your goals?
Oh, I have a few of them. As most people know that watch my live streams, one of my big goals has actually be to become a Twitch partner, and that is completely in the realm of achievable. I've talked to some of the staff members a while back, and it was actually very simple. It was, hey, you guys don't play one of the, top 10 games, so that works in your advantage a little bit, because then you don't need to be up in the 500 viewers and things like that. We just want you to be in the triple digits, around 100, 100 to 20, somewhere in there, and that will make us comfortable with making you a partner. And ultimately, there's two big reasons I want to do that, and a lot of people assume it's for money, which it's not. I have no aspirations of becoming a full-time broadcaster, because it ain't gonna happen for me, just with other things in life. But what I want to do is I want to have the transcoding ability all the time on Twitch, so that somebody that has the greatest connection can watch it on source, and somebody who has a not so great connection can still watch it on low quality, because it really bums me out when somebody comes into the channel and they just say, it's just buffering, man, just constant buffering, or it just keeps freezing. Well, I guess I'm not gonna watch, I'll see you later. Like, that sucks. As a content creator, that sucks when people want to watch but can't. The other part of it was that it gets more exposure for Lord of the Rings Online. And because when you actually get partnered, you get about a 6-month period, I believe, or it's 6 weeks or 6 months. I can't remember what it is, but you actually get featured. You're in a featured rotation for the front page of Twitch. And if you're up there and people are just going to twitch.tv and they see that, that's huge amounts of exposure for the game that you play and for your persona. So that's kind of the big goal that I have. The short-term one is actually what I've been talking to you about, as far as trying to rein it in with all of the community aspects and kind of putting it all together, really. And so that's going to take some collaboration between all of us and what that looks like, and maybe even having a Discord chat with a couple YouTube guys, maybe a bunch of you guys over at LOTRO Players, a couple of us broadcasters, and say, like, hey, what do we want to do with this thing? And maybe get Cordovan in there and see what his thoughts are and move forward.
Yeah, I think we should definitely try to be doing more cross promotion. I think that would help grow a lot and help everyone kind of find out, the rest of the community and what's going on elsewhere, because it feels like that there's kind of just these pockets of the community almost. One of the things another goal that I had recently, and by recently I mean like this weekend, is to really increase the quality of my YouTube videos to be much more edited than they used to be. And we'll see how long term this goes, because editing takes a lot of time at the level that I'm doing it. But, hopefully moving forward, I can be able to be creating a lot higher quality videos for LOTRO and other games as well on my channel.
Yeah, that's something, I visit your channel like every couple days just to see what's up, and when you went with the camera and the new microphone and stuff, I was like, wow, that was an improvement. Like, just that quality piece right there was awesome. And it's like, name to a face, yes.
Yeah, and I'm also working on that too, and trying to. There could be a new way that I record things, where I record them separate and am able to edit them between to make it be much more interesting to watch. But we'll have to see how that works.
Sure. One thing that I would be willing to do, if you actually go and do a search, I don't know what the actual dimensions are right now. If you actually want to do a plate or a panel for Twitch, just like Daddy's website, I would be happy to put LOTRO players up there for you guys. Just as another avenue of advertisement for that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So, I think that's gonna about wrap it up for the community side of things. Is there anything that you want to touch on before, or like maybe do you have any insight on your next episode of LOTRO Player News?
On the next episode of LOTRO Players News, we're going to be having the Tolkien professor, Corey Olson, on once again.
Excellent.
To be plugging all of his Mythgard fundraising, because that's going on right now, getting ready to go on, I guess. And so that's like their big push, because they do this major fundraising thing for their whole university once a year, and it's just this really big thing. So we're going to be having that tomorrow. Middle-earth Lore Chapter 4 will be coming out on my channel, so if you're interested in the lore of Tolkien or anything like that, recommend checking out that series. So much work goes into it that we don't even know how many hours actually go into that series, but it's a lot among a lot of people, and if you're interested in that, check it out. So you can actually go to middleearthlore.com and be able to find it that way, with or without the hyphen, and that'll get you there. I do also want to do just a quick rundown of LOTRO podcasts, because there's actually quite a few of them. There's LOTRO Players News, which is the show that I do. There's LOTRO Academy, which is also part of LOTRO Players. And LOTRO Academy goes into all sorts of new player topics. And it's amazing to me that they've had well over 100 episodes and are still having like these major topics like the cosmetic system that they just hadn't covered yet. It's amazing how much in depth that they can go into some of those topics. Light the Beacons is another great LOTRO podcast. If you've not listened to it, it's a very funny podcast done by Bragg, and highly recommend that. And then also LOTRO Reporter is a great news podcast as well.
Yeah, and actually only 2 of those things I knew about. So, point proven. Point proven.
Which 2, just out of curiosity?
Yours and LOTRO Reporter.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, if you could do me a favor, out of all the sites and personalities and all that stuff, if you could do me a favor and actually just kind of compile a list and email it to me, that way, like when I do my broadcasts and stuff like that, and I kind of like take a break, I can actually make a slide for an AFK or something like that I can put up that like would almost be like an ad roll for YouTube almost. It'd just be like when I step away, I could actually put that up and actually be a resource, and then I can actually also talk about it because I don't have all the resources in front of me, and I can put it on the Moobot loop too, so it actually puts them all the links in chat every so often.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so if you want to shoot me an email with that stuff, I'd be happy to put that together and get that all going too.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. Well, I do appreciate it. I know I kind of put you on the spot, like, hey, you should stop by tonight. And then, yes, he did. Okay, cool. But I do appreciate you coming in here and spending some time with us tonight. And again, anything else that you want to touch on, feel free to just toss it in chat too. If you've got topics that you think would be good for the show too, like something that maybe you could even do in conjunction with your show, just email me, let me know. And I am completely down for that.
Yeah, sounds great. And thanks for having me on, Blood. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. And we'll be in touch a heck of a lot more. So thanks again,
definitely.
buddy. And I will touch base soon.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks, man. All right, so that was Andang, and I was very happy that he was able to make it in here tonight and provide some other perspective from the other side of the LOTRO community. Do I have a volunteer potentially? I would like, if it's possible, if there's anybody in the Twitch chat right now that is a very experienced hunter, one that would know more of the high points of the class from maybe further back and into what some people are saying, some of the lower points. Cool K Kyle, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. And you know, I do apologize because the chat was scrolling by pretty quick there, and we were having a pretty good discussion with Andang. So I know I missed a lot of stuff in there. That is certainly not the goal. I want this to be a very open forum and about discussion and things like that. So if there's any topic or a question or something like that that you wanted, repost it. We'll check it out and see what we can do here. Let's see here. What else? Pike is a hunter in Destiny. I know you are. I know you are. Let's see. I need to pull up one thing here real quick. I want to see the information here. Okay, so pretty good show again tonight. We had 46. We're capped out at 46 people. So very good, and it's actually been very steady. I'm actually looking at the graph there. It's a lot of people just hanging in here. It's pretty awesome. The best hunters are rune keepers. Oh boy, I'm looking away. Chromite or Zion or Raid? Are you available, Chromite? Or are you saying you're in a raid? Because I do have the forums pulled up on occasion, and I do notice you post quite a bit in there. So I would be interested to see what you have to say regarding that. And is there anybody else? Not seeing... Not seeing a whole lot of other takers in here. So, I mean, I can provide a little bit of perspective from my experiences because I had a hunter from as far back as Shadows of Angmar. Oh, okay. I mean, if we're still running here when you're finished up, just let me know. I'll get you the Discord info, and we can get you in here, and we'll chat. So yes, thank you for posting that, Meg. So interesting thing. My champion, my hunter, my captain, and I think my guardian. I actually all started those in Shadows of Angmar. My captain was my second class that I ever played. The hunter was the third one. The hunter was actually the class that I played to get my wife into playing the game, which she played her minstrel alongside my hunter to the level cap of 50, and then a week later is when Moria came out. So we briefly got to play at level cap on those characters. And then she liked what she saw of the hunter so much that she rolled one and actually made that her main. So she has a 105 hunter. She doesn't play as much as she used to, but I still get her in here every now and then. So Kudisi says, I will say this, playing my hunter again recently, and I just find it hard. It's so different now, and it's not as fun as it used to be, to me at least. And we're getting a ditto from Pang. Yeah, and Vandenwar, that is actually one of the things that we were talking about as far as the information just being out of date and really it's really hard to find up-to-date content. So, and that's one of the things that we're trying to push for in the community is to really have an avenue for people to get correct and up-to-date information. That's one of the hard things about this game. That might be one of the hardest things about this game, honestly, is if you don't know something, is finding accurate and correct information. And oftentimes, if you do find the information you're looking for, it's out of date by years. Let's see. We've got... Zingor says he prefers the Hunter now to what it was before because I play them all in blue line. Well, that's fair. And that would be incredibly helpful, Charles, is class guides. Yeah, I could put some work into a champ guide. I have a lot of champ videos. Show topic submitted. All right. We can just start making things happen. Yeah, do it. Make it happen. Show us what you got. I need a Guardian guide. Aerithurts is actually still fairly accurate. I don't know if he's made any addendums to it since the changes, but it'll get you there. And yes, Kadithi is a good resource for that as well. Kind of scrolling back up here a little bit. But kind of back to my own personal experiences with the Hunter class. It is a great class to acclimate yourself to the game because of the conveniences that the class has to offer as far as ports. In the lower levels, the DPS still pretty okay. Like as far as questing goes, you're fine. But I think it being an easy class to play does not necessarily mean it's an easy class to master, and that's kind of how I feel about the champ. They are both listed as basic classes, but there is a distinction for the class being laid out or built easy, and then actually mastering that class and actually being a very, very high utility. Half Pint says, when all classes now have a DPS spec, and since Hunter is primarily single target DPS, but no longer in the top 3 hitters, it's a major issue. 100% agree. You know, the Hunter should be at the top. It should be at the top of the list. You know, there are things about certain classes that I find annoying. I don't want to dive too much into that again because I do want to keep these talks very positive and encouraging to people that may be coming in here for the first time and experiencing players, and I don't want this to be filled with like disgust and angst towards the game or classes or things like that, because I truly want this to be a positive experience, and I want this to be something that a new player comes in and plays what they truly feel they want to play. So if we have an experience where somebody comes in like, hey, I've been wanting to play the Hunter class, what do you guys think? And everybody's just like, don't play it. You know, it's like, oh man, I love playing ranged classes. I'd say still play it, you know? Let's see, let me scroll up here a little bit. Actually, I do see 50 right now on my counter, on my live counter. It actually shows 50 viewers, so that is hype. Yes, there we go. I like it, guys. All right. Let's see. I think, okay, let me scroll back up. We got some discussion going here. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Awesome. I think that there are an active community of players that are really interested in developing new math player perspective to develop a site for people to submit information and finding that go through some type of oversight to post. Moonrager, you know, a good place for that might actually be Daddy's site. Since he can probably review the content, well, I know he can review the content, that might be something you want to check out with Daddy. Go to Daddy's LOTRO guides, see if that might be something you can partner up with him and have that be an avenue for you guys. Yes, I agree, Half Pint. It is very easy to adapt to bad habits and play lazy. 100% agree with that. Let's see here. Yeah, so I mean, what Pang and Zingor are talking about is as far as the out of combat stuff, they still offer a lot of utility, and that's great. And I think the biggest concern is the amount of damage that they do or lack of it. I do agree they should be in the top tier of damage. Absolutely. If you think about it in a normal in a war scenario, archers have an advantage. They shouldn't be taking a lot of damage because they should be very, very far away from the combat. And if you are a good archer, you're going to hit your mark and do a lot of damage. Let's see here. Halfmine also says that a well-played yellow line hunter has very little use in the current group gameplay, which is very unfortunate. You know, I honestly don't know what a lot of people play in their lines. Whenever I quest on any character, I do red line. It's just what I do. I'm sure there's better ways to do it, but that's just what I do. And I think that the issue that we run into with something like the hunter, that they have 2.5 damage rolls, because the trapper is still to see. Well, no, it does a lot of. It still can do a lot of damage, but it's got a lot more of that CC stuff in there. Let me go back up here. You guys have got some good stuff going here, and this is what I wanted to see. This is why I do this. Generate some discussion. Because honestly, this stuff, I don't doubt that the devs go back and watch it. Because of the discussion. That's also why I wanted to put the Twitch chat in here. So people watching it, if they're not watching it directly on Twitch, they can see what we're talking about in the discussion. And they can weigh in it. So let's see here. Lala says, the thing is, Hunter never got nerfed, so to speak. It was so much a really great DPS class for so long that I feel that the newest content being so ad heavy with lots of AoE needed, the Hunter, whoa, where'd that go? I just scrolled. With 2 or 3 AoE skills and the induction make a single target feel prolonged. But I'm psyched for update 19, whatever the changes will be. And that brings up an interesting point, is that October is when we're looking at update 19. That is a very not set in stone date. That was just something that was mentioned in the interview with Daddy. So if you guys check that out on his site, that is something that really... There's a lot of good topics in there that I find that a lot of people will think are good and informative, and maybe alleviate some frustrations and maybe make you want to revisit some things. Let's go back up here again. Sealren Turbine is going to break Glassberg with this update, though. I guess we'll see. At this point, LOTRO, all classes are capable of doing everything and they can do. Like, obviously, a tank can't heal, but there is some balance issues between the traits and classes. Sure. There are... I think a prime example of that is the Warden, and that we are going to save the Warden class for a whole nother episode. Because I definitely have some insight and perspective on that class. Watching an RK do 50k DPS is a positive thing until compared to the Hunter's 15 to 20k. Yes, absolutely. Now, Vand, does that mean that we bring the RK down or just bring the Hunter up? I imagine there are arguments for both ways. My thought would probably be a mixture of bringing the arcade down a notch and bringing the Hunter up a couple notches or several. Let's see. 100k coup de grace on creeps before revamps is dumb either way. Yeah. The thing you always have to understand about this game is it's never going to be balanced well for PvP because it is a PvE story driven game. PvP has always been in the sidecar, you know. It's a harsh reality. It really is. I like PvP. I really do. I really enjoy it. It's one of the most frustrating experiences in this game that I've ever had. Is PvP on this? I would love to see, and this will be maybe a whole nother topic. So maybe start formulating some stuff around PvP, because we will talk about that in another episode here. Is arena style combat or battleground style combat, not just the map style. So get the wheels turning on some PvP stuff. Maybe we'll do PvMP next week. That's not good. Yeah, I'm just saying that now. Next week's going to be PvMP. So if you guys know some really heavy hitters that are into the PvP community, both creep and freep, let me know who they are so I can reach out to them, and maybe we'll get them in here on Discord and we can talk about it. Okay? So that's what I'm thinking about for next week. And that might be an entire episode. I might not have any time to talk about other stuff. That might be a whole episode. All right. Charles, wall of text. What we got here? Any class can beat any class at level caps. The trait trees set up the game in order to make this much more flexible. Yes, you beat me in a spar with a full set of Nadian gear at level 100 when I did not have a full set of Nadian gear. You just kept pressing the issue, so I fought you. Try me now, Holmes. Let's see. Let's see here. Just kind of going through here. Kadithi thinks that as far as the Warden Hunter thing, or I'm sorry, the RK Hunter thing, that it needs to be a little bit of both. And I agree. I think that's kind of like if you're setting a bar, just like if the disparity is this, let's do this. Don't necessarily go here, and don't necessarily go here. Let's just bring them together. Let's see here. What else we got in here? Yeah, I think that the thing that was frustrating for me, Andang, about the PvP map was that the there was a very simple mechanic to make that more interesting. And because what happened in my experiences out there was that everybody just ran up the middle, and that was it. I think that if you had the middle bridge should have been closed, unless you controlled the other two bridges. So it would be a very rare scenario that the middle be open, because it would force combat around the outsides. Anyway, let's go back up here. Moonrager. My question is for anybody with anybody's viewpoint or assumption is that they do the math. Are they talking about single one-to-one damage versus one-to-many AoE damage? There will always be classes that excel more than others depending on the situation. Or are we talking about PvMP? Really can apply to both. Personally, I thought the map itself was brilliant regarding PvP. What is disappointing is that most players choose not to use the brilliant map. Blood and Andrew for PvP. Honestly, I am not the best person to talk about PvP. I will talk at PvP. Alright, we can revisit the Berg, and just remind me, and I will get you in Discord for that. This is what I want to do with this. This is the whole reason I wanted to do this show, is to bring up discussion. Because forum discussions take too long. This is instant and recorded, so there's a lot of information that can be gained from this. And if we get more people in here and they get more discussion in a positive manner, we can make changes happen. One of the things that I heard in the interview, and I apologize, I'm kind of bouncing all over, but I'm getting things that are popping in here, and things that you guys are saying is kind of making me think of other stuff. There was something that happened in the interview. It was actually with the raid lock situation, and it was saying like how, you know, if enough people they needed to carve out time to do that. And really, I think if it was kind of a mass outcry of like, no, don't do anything else right now, just fix this, that might help out a little bit. May not, but at least your voice is being heard at that point. Kyle, thanks for coming in, buddy. Good to see you again, as always. And I hope to see you soon. Hashtag soon. And thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Call me. I go into work at 1. Let's see, the main problem is, what kind of dev team is Turbine dealing with for LOTRO? Do they have the time and the resources to do that number crunching? Well, honestly, a lot of players are doing it for them. So as long as they can present the material in an honest and clean fashion, that's something that the community can do to impact the game. The problem is, a lot of times how the information is presented that I have seen on the forums. Now, I can't speak to bug reports because obviously I can't see that stuff. What I read on the forum is, this class is broken. This skill sucks. I want more DPS. Okay. What are your reasons for that? What is the cause for the rage towards this? Like, where did it come from? Where do you want it to go? Provide me the whys behind these things. Yes, I would love to discuss it with you too. I actually have a very good friend of mine that is a Berg as well, so I might have both of you guys on. It might be a good topic. I would love to do that. That would be great. There we go. Do people parse things in LOTRO? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. A lot of it's not... there's not a lot of it that's posted. There's a fair number of people that do post. But, yeah. We'll see. And the crazy thing is that as angry as people are in the LOTRO community, it is still nicer than most, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that as well. Let's see. And Andang, all the way up to your comment about, I think it was responding to my map comment about the bridges. Yeah, they still can do things. And honestly, what that takes is people using the map and providing feedback again. Because again, since there was a change at Turbine, people that may have had that information or had that information to use, it might be a different person that's working on it, may not have a clue that was even an issue. So, and that's why it's important for us to communicate and talk about these things, is to push the subject. Anyway. Oh, I got quite a few people that would love to jump in on the Berg discussion. So, next week I'm going to do PvMP, and then I think the following week, since there's some interest around it, we'll do the Berg. So, I'll kind of lay that out there right now. Next week, PvMP. The following week, Berg. And since I'll actually have a couple people in the conversation, those two topics are pretty much going to be the whole episode, I think. Sel, have a good night, buddy. Thank you for coming in and contributing. I do appreciate you being here. Berg, for what seemed like forever, and since it changes, no one really wants me. RK and DPS is higher. No one needs a fellowship maneuver. Bergs offer what? CC, LMs. Their support is still really good. If you're in a raid, the support from a Berg can still be very, very useful. Let's see here. Yeah, it's kind of like the raid mentality of potions or pots. Use it early and often. If you have a topic that's not been touched, bring it up again. Bring it up as soon as you see it, and bring it up often. Like, hey, I mentioned this a month ago. Nothing's happened yet. Just keep bringing it up. Just keep doing it. We can spend the whole show talking about the burgle skill. Yes, burgle hype. You ever get to talking about minstrels, let me know. Well, here's the deal, is we will talk about every single class in the game at some point through the show. And we will also talk about other topics regarding the game. So, originally the idea was to have them kind of paired. So to have like a class discussion paired with another topic. But what I'm finding out is that the topics that we're talking about are actually generating some very solid dialogue, and it's actually taking more time than I anticipated, which I have no problem with. I think it's great. All right. So, I can still go for a little while here too. So, for all you hunters out there, aside from, actually, Chromite, no, I can actually bring that back up. If you would like, sir, I can get you the Discord information if you would like to come in and chat for a little bit, if you are down for it. That's back up. There we go. All right, Chromite is down. So let me get him some Discord info, and we'll get him in here. Hold on just a minute, guys. Let's see here. Let's see. We need a new DM. I think I am going to have to message it to you on Twitch. So give me a moment. Let's see here. All right. Open up a new tab here. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. All right, give me just a minute, guys, here. I'm going to get some information over to... I feel really bad. I can't send you a DM on Twitter because why? What's your name on Twitter? Because I just did a search for it and I don't have it. Anyway, let's do this. I sent it to you on Twitch since that's what I am already at. Oh, that's why. Okay, let me search for that. And apparently I need a new album. Hold on. We are, see, this is what happens when I go for time. I'm not prepared for that, so I got to do a couple extra things here. I'm going to pick another album here. And you guys will all know what this is from. There we go. Okay. 1 second on the Discord info. Actually, I need to do one other thing here. Okay. All right, Chromite, I sent that on Twitter. And once you hop in Discord, I'll pull you down into the Echoes channel. Okay, cool. So we'll get him in here, and we will have a good old hunter discussion. And also, if you guys have anybody else that you want to bring in here, let them know we're talking about the hunter. We're gonna have some discussion going. Bring more people. Bring a friend. Let's get some soy. We do have 55 viewers in here right now. That is awesome. This is the kind of stuff I like seeing. It lets me know that you guys care about the game more so than I already know that you do. Let's see here. $55, let's go for 60. You guys can do it. You know what's also awesome is when I go live and this happens on Twitter. That's awesome. I love you guys for that stuff. What up, penalty? View by 55 reporting for duty. Absolutely. A true hunter knows how to dance. To stance dance. Stance dance revolution. Mort, have a good night, buddy. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. And when we do a minstrel chat, I will certainly have you on board. All right. Chromite, just hit the lobby in the voice channels, and I'll pull you down. Telerian, I will note that for you. Absolutely. So how about like events, just in general, like and actually that does bring up an interesting point as well, of just oh, all right, take your time. The server consolidations were supposed to bring out some more world events, but they've been working on servers for so long at this point that we haven't had we haven't seen anything really come of that. We've seen some more transparency around new like the schedule and things like that, but that's about it. Nope. All right, there's Chromite. Let me bring him down here. Chromite, how you doing, buddy? Let's see here. Where are the world events? We have not seen them yet. Oh, okay. My guess is they are hard at work on update 19. Yeah. Which I'm okay with. Let's see. Which I'm okay with. Let's see here. Sounds like we're getting Chromite in here.
Okay, is this thing working?
Yes, sir.
All right, sorry about that. Took me a
Hey,
little bit.
that's okay, buddy. Welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming in.
Glad to be here.
So, the Hunter. Lay it on me. What do you got? Where are they at? Where they need to go?
Well, I think hunters really, since they are a one-trick pony, CC is not a factor at all in raids or instances for hunters. They're DPS. They should be at the top because that is all that they can do. And I understand that the RKs, they're DPS and healing, but they are easily picked for either role. So when you're one trick pony, you should do that trick the best out of anybody.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, I was sad to see that the devs didn't really acknowledge the needed defense skills that hunters really need. They didn't even acknowledge that. They acknowledged it for Bergs, and there's a thread on the forum saying Bergs, most of the Bergs posting in there saying we don't really need defenses. We need the DPS and the AOE.
Right. So. That was the biggest thing I saw, and actually, a good buddy of mine, Brookrim, he plays as Berg, and when I told him, how they addressed it in that interview was that we're going to address Hunter DPS, Berg DPS, and Berg survivability. And he's like, why Berg survivability?
Where'd they get that from?
Yeah. I mean, every class could say that. It's like, I just want to go to a zone and not die.
Yeah.
Every class could say it, but there are classes who genuinely need it.
Right. So, it's been a long time since hunters have gotten love. It's been probably 4+ years since a dev has really helped hunters. So it's a long time coming, and I understand Bergs need help too. I don't want to discredit Bergs, but we're talking about hunters right now.
There will be a time. There will be a time. The thing that I noticed with the hunter was, like I said, I played one back in SOA through about Mirkwood, and then that's kind of where it really trailed off. I would level him up, and I just really wouldn't play him that much anymore. Back then, they were absolutely top tier DPS. You wanted hunters in your group back then.
Exactly.
And back when a Heartseeker at that level cap at 50, you get a 5-6k Heartseeker, and that's like, oh my god.
Yeah. One-shotting in the moors. That's what it was back then.
Yeah, going all stealth and then queuing up one heart or all the Heartseekers, so you could only see one mark on a target. Boom goes the dynamite.
But even through Rise of Isengard, hunters were still wanted for DPS and even CC, because back then we didn't have trait trees. We had virtues, or the not virtues, but the I forget what it was called. God, it's been so long. Anyway, you had the sets of skills that you would group together, and you would be able to then do your CC on a hunter respectably well. I mean, almost as much as a lore master. You just didn't have the debuffs that a lore master had. And I did many a run in Tower of Orthanc doing the CC when we couldn't get a lore master or Berg.
Sure, and that's why I think they did offer that utility, and right now I think they struggle enough with the damage side of things that certainly aren't going to be throwing out any type of CC because it's not needed.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Maiden?
And we can do some AoE, but it depends on large groups. We need a large group of mobs to have our Rain of Arrows reset, because it resets on crit. And if you're not using fire oil during the AoE, sometimes it won't reset as much. Fire oil helps increase those resets. And if you only have like a couple of mobs, like 3 or whatever, it also doesn't reset as much. But we can do in large groups of mobs, we can do respectable AoE.
There's something I was going to ask you about. Okay, so do you think the issue currently with the hunter is just a mathematical problem, or is it a functional problem?
Functional mostly, because hunters rely on procs for their DPS. And I'm sorry, blue line hunters, but you cannot reach the damage that red line can get.
It's not intended to be.
Yeah. And redline hunters have so many procs that you have to manage. And if there's any bit of lag, if you've got a little stun, if you get interrupted, it breaks your flow of those procs. For example, with hunters, you use quick shot to lower the induction time of your skills. It tears up 3 times, and it takes 5 seconds for it to completely disappear. One of the things that hunters in the hunter forum have been suggesting is to have that tear down instead of just completely going away. And there's many things like that. Many things we have suggested in the hunter forums over 4 or 5 years now that has just gone ignored. And if you don't manage your procs, you won't be top DPS. There's many procs that you have to manage.
Absolutely. And do you think that there are still mathematical issues?
There are some. It's mostly because the game is now changed in, I think, update 18, when they changed the mitigation stuff, where the partial mitigation is really affecting physical DPS classes, mainly burglars, hunters, and champs. And that partial mitigation really affects us a lot. It doesn't affect classes like RKs or wardens, because their dots are ticking away without being mitigated that way. And with
right,
hunters,
and the resist as well. I mean,
yes, yeah. The resist isn't as bad, but the thing with the dots that you can put on mobs as an RK and a warden, if you're stun interrupted, those things are still ticking away. You're still doing DPS. That's why they are so wanted in the Silent Street for that challenge mode. That's why they're wanted in Rakothas and in Throne of the. I mean, just throughout the entire raid. Those bleeds and dots taken away, that really helps quite a bit. And one way to help a hunter is to raise our dot damage, have them tick for longer. And that's one of the many suggestions that hunters have done in the hunter forum. Just need some dev to come in there and talk to us.
Right. The you kind of bring up an interesting point about the about dots and things like that, and that's actually been this will be for another show about the warden, but that's been my biggest grief with them, is I think they have too much damage in blue line and too much survivability in red. Yes. And they shouldn't be able to do all the self-healing in red line, but they shouldn't be able to do all the damage that they can do in blue line.
Yeah, I kind of laughed when they said, "Oh, but we nerfed Warden's healing in red line," and it's like, no, not really.
It didn't matter because people weren't really doing that too much. It was all going blue line for the survivability, because you're still pumping out the DPS.
Exactly.
But back to the hunter. Do you think that there is a particular spec, so red, blue, or yellow, that is irrelevant?
Not necessarily. Not really irrelevant. Irrelevant in a grouping situation, yes. That would be yellow line. Blue line, I really don't think is good for grouping as well. Some people swear that they can get high DPS in blue line, and I've never seen proof. Somebody please post some proof compared to red. So, but I mean, yellow line and blue line are really, that's what people will use in the Moors. Yellow line for complete survivability and just laughing at everybody.
Right.
I mean, it's really ridiculous. And you can also use yellow line to solo slowly in instances, high level instances and skirmish raids and stuff like that. But in blue line, you've got that mobility. It's really set up for those who want to move around and have that kite ability on the landscape. Now, when you're red line doing landscape stuff, it's like stuff is dead before it even reaches you.
Right. So and that's kind of the way like I said, I approached everything questing wise, was to I always go red line when I'm questing or doing even like real small group stuff, nothing like 6-mans or just I tend to stay red because it's a very simple approach to whatever I'm doing. But like when I do briefly play my hunter, I immediately, as soon as I log in, I look at, I don't know what half of the stuff is, and then I need to go look something up, and then I can't find information that's current on it. So then I don't play them.
Right. One of the things, I'm a really big procrastinator. I talk about on the in the Twitch chats, saying, I really need to put something up on how to manage hunter procs, how to solo this, how to do that. And I've been meaning to. It's just I've been having fun playing the game, and when you're having fun playing the game, you tend to procrastinate.
Oh yes, I know that all too well.
That's the nice thing about streaming, is that you can just be playing the game while you're streaming.
Right, kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So let's see. Do you think? Let's kind of dive into gear and weapons. Do you think that the legacies are in a good place, or no?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Problem with hunters is we've got legacies that are split between two different things. We have focus and induction crit multipliers. We have so many legacies that you have to have on a bow to be the best. And there's so many things that are split when they really shouldn't be. And if they were to combine the crit multipliers into one, that would help. There's also like the focus and induction power ones that are split. Those should be combined as well. And to give us maybe some survivability legacies, I don't know, but combine and give us some survivability legacies. Right now, hunters have to choose to replace probably about 2 or 3 really good legacies on their DPS bow in order to be consistent with their DPS. We have to use an evade penetration legacy. You have to make a hard decision to drop like maybe quick shot damage or something like that for that. So there's lots of things that need to be looked at on the hunter legacies.
Are there things within the gear like do you guys struggle to hit any particular target of mastery or morale or anything like that in building out we'll take your hunter for example. Are there any numbers that you would like to achieve within the stats themselves that you just can't, but that should be something that your character should be hitting? And that's kind of an odd question, but
yeah. So here's one of the problems. In order for hunters to do end game DPS, they need to have a certain set bonus, and that is the Heartseeker instacast and reset set bonus, and that comes from the Osgiliath 4-set bonus, and it comes from the 4-set bonus in the new raid in tier 2. And if you don't have that, you won't be able to get to the lower end of the arcade DPS, and if you're not getting near there, you're no help. So
right.
And having that non-slottable gear, that's all gear that has its own stats, but it has that set bonus. You can't put your own essences in there to get your stats up. You have to do it, put them in other pieces. So I get to 93,000 physical mastery with my Osgiliath, and I'm reaching the cap there. I can't really do too much more unless I get some of the tier 2 stuff, and that's without slotting in my MIT stuff. When I have full raid stuff and MITs, T2 MITs, overcap MITs, I'm probably around 77,000 physical mastery, and if I get a few more pieces of raid gear, I'll get up to 80,000 or more. But it's crucial for hunters to get that tier 2 4-slot Heartseeker set bonus, and we can't even get in the raid. It's been months since the raid has been released. People don't want hunters in their tier 2 raids for that, and so you have to play another character. Hunters, you have to go and play an RK if you want to get in there. Play a minstrel, play a guardian. So
yeah, and that's it actually kind of brings up a point of kind of frustration I've had across the differences in light, medium, and armor just in general. And so take my champ for example, and kind of like the hunter, I always say this and Kudithi gets mad, but that's what we get paid to do, right? We get paid to damage stuff. That's what we do. And what's frustrating to me is how much, if I'm going to go do a tier 2, I have to sacrifice so much of my damage to bring the morale pull up, bring the mitigations up, bring all these other stats up, and I have to sacrifice so much of the damage. But then you look at, I think some people might get mad at me for saying this, but healers have it the easiest. Because especially minstrel healers, you get to about 62 to 65 on your outgoing healing from will and cap your mitts, and the rest is morale, and you got 75k minis rolling around that can...
Yep.
That's not